we will move on now to the final morning session, which will be particularly, sorry, I apologize, which is a particularly interesting theme that all of us are aware, which is disinformation in the era of social media. So all of us are aware of this, well, problematic, let's say. And this panel will be, I'm just sharing the screen while we are waiting on one person to join in. So to discuss this topic, we will have with us four fantastic individuals with diversified backgrounds. So the first will be Dr. Mario Augusto. So Mario Augusto, as pretty much all of you know him, is a leading television entrepreneur, founder of SIG, and also a journalist since 1985. Then we'll also have Ana Cadet, Professor Carlos Catalão, co-founder of Ciência Viva and also lecturer on science, communication, and education. And we'll also have as moderator for the conversation Professor Carlos Brito, which is an associate professor at the Faculty of Economy of Porto. So Professor Carlos and Anna are having some connecting issues, so we'll start the discussion between me, Professor Catalão, and also Mario. So thank you, Professor Carlos, and also. Okay. So we have here already Professor Carlos Brito.
Yeah.
Professor, bom dia. Hello.
Good morning, everyone. I think that I'm using a different link because it appears as Tiago, but in fact, I will correct this right now because my name is Carlos Brito.
Very well.
Morning.
Good morning, Professor. So I just presented the panel members, and the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. For me, it is a pleasure being here with this fantastic audience, with these friends. Some of them I already know, and I hope that you will enjoy the next hour that we will spend talking about fake news and disinformation. Hugo has already introduced members of this panel. Right now we have Carlos Catalão. Carlos is professor at Nova University of Lisbon, in particular at the School of Social Science and Humanities. He is an expert in the communication of science. Mario Augusto is a good friend. He's a journalist at RTP. Nice to meet you again, Mario.
Hi, Carlos.
Thank you very much. And I'm not so sure if Anna is joining. Yeah, I think
Anna is trying. Oh, yeah. But she's here also with. She's also with as Tiago. So Anna, please, please update your name if you can, and then.
Anna, pleasure. Can you listen?
Hello.
Hello,
everyone.
Yes,
Anna.
Welcome.
Hi.
I was just introducing you as a senior scientist in a biotech in Boston. Are you talking from Boston or here in Portugal?
No, I'm from Boston. It's 7 a.m. in Boston.
Okay.
Oh.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
And you are founder of a number of very interesting projects, one of which I appreciate very much, which is Ciência em 3 minutos, Science in 3 minutes. I inspired in this project when I was at Portugalense University, because we also created short videos in a very, I would say, not technical way to communicate science, which is not easy at all, I have to say. Well, so thank you very much. We'll talk about disinformation, and I have a general question for the three members of this panel. The question is this. I feel that disinformation is not new. I think that since men and women are men and women, this has ever happened. But now we pay a lot of attention to this phenomenon. So my question is, what are the roots of disinformation? Not now, but in general. Why people like to spread fake news? And the second is, why is it so important now? Anna, would you like to begin?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much. Let me just have here like some disclosure, because I know this is getting recording. So I'm here representing Ciência em 3 Minutos and not my company. And so the opinions are from myself, and it may not be the opinion that my company or people that work there share as well. So responding to your question, and I think this is a very interesting question. So I think that if from one side we have science which is transmitted and is associated with facts, the disinformation or the misinformation in this case, I think it plays a lot with people's emotions. And this is something that you have described around in the literature. And I think that when we talk about these complex issues with the pandemic, and we talk about virology or immunology, regulatory affairs, and new medicines, I think that people, because they are not into those scientific fields, they have more tendency to emotionally believe in what they read that they are kind of uncertain. It's this uncertainty about these specific topics, then spending time trying to understand the science, because that's really, really hard to understand. And here I think there was one thing that I found to be kind of a major importance, and where I believe we failed as and not only on the science communication, but in general, the scientists as well, is in the credibility. I think that when the virus starting, there was no time to stop and think about what's going on. The virus affects globally the world, and suddenly you had social media flood with opinions, because by that time you didn't have facts yet about the coronavirus. And so in March, I remember that the newspapers were full of headlines saying that coronavirus is like the flu. We don't need masks because they are not going to solve the problem. This was a virus produced in a laboratory in China. And so after a few weeks, all of these opinions were like contradicted, these times with facts. And by the time, people just did not believe in what we're saying. So I think I think that information was out of control globally, and that led to what we call the infodemia, right? So this is this excess of information, that it's not only misinformation, is also a lot about the myths and the conspiracy theories that are also associated, and this can be or not intended. So I can just, but in that part, if this is intended or not, I don't think that the majority of the opinions are intentionally written to create this confusion. But the truth is that they were responsible for the lack of trust that population has now in science, and I think this misinformation is like the threat for in this fight against the pandemic. And for many time I was telling, it's pointless to have a vaccine if people do not want to take the vaccine. And so for me, the misinformation was invisible at our eyes, but would be responsible for the biggest loss in the scientific community in the politic if there was no adhesion of the population to the vaccines.
Thank you very much, Anna. I like that point that you addressed when you referred to the emotional weakness, and apparently we are more open in these times to absorb and not to be so rigorous in checking the accuracy of the information. Now I would like to know the opinion of someone who comes from the media. Mario, you are an expert. You are a journalist, but you are an expert in, as far as I know, in social media. Because what I feel is that we are not only facing. It's very interesting because Anna used the word misinformation, not disinformation, but in social media, do you believe that there is a real disinformation?
But well, I think the big problem actually it's I'm the bad guy here because I'm from the media and from also the television, but I care about the future of the media and future of my medium to have work until my old age. But I don't think so because this way to inform is changed very fast now, and the big problem is the traditional media are very resistant to the change, especially because they are not prepared for the future and they have not the capacity to adapt to the new tools, the new generations, and they are very full of heavy equipment. The new generation are much more agile to using new tools, and the traditional model is impossible to schedule and the contents today to new generation because they want to create the new generation. They want to create their own contents and they have the possibility to use and to disseminate without limitations or schedules. And tells three words. It's very important to reflect actually: disinformation, emotion, credibility, and the time to stop and to think. I retain that words because it's the biggest problem of the media. Actually, I care about the knowledge, of the contents for television because. In public service, I represent RTP, but I'm not here for as representative of RTP. I'm from the media. I'm a journalist, but I think the big problem is the resumed with the phrase or the idea of the political and scientist in America, Joseph Nye. In the 80s, he labeled the new media as the soft power. The soft power is the way to go to the final target, the people, the audience, to input ideas, way to think, and way to promote the way to live. And the big problem, we are in the middle of that bridge, and the problem is the new generations want more, and the new way to promote science, to promote knowledge is in the adaptation of this new world. The artificial intelligence and algorithms to promote the communication also promote a very a lot of trash information and promote that instability. Old people think, okay, I'm informed, but normally are not informed. It's a lot of information, but we need to have time to stop and to think and to clarify that information the media gives to us. I think in Europe we have the public service of communication, television normally, but the television is not care about the truth of that information. Don't check sometimes the source of that information and promote a cloud of disinformation to all the people. I think the new generation have to prepare for the way to give us the knowledge and the way to promote the truth about the knowledge.
Thank you very much. Now we will have time to listen the opinion of the academia. Carlos, you have research in these issues, and do you believe this is a new phenomenon, or is it an old phenomenon that during some times, for instance, let us take the example of other pandemics, that huge pandemic that happened in the Middle Ages. People say that Jewish were the source of the pandemic. Isn't this also a fake news?
You're talking to me, Carlos.
Yes, Carlos. Yeah.
Carlos,
Sorry. Yes, Carlos. Yes.
First of all, Carlos, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the university to have invited me. I'm really pleased to be here. Trying to answer your questions in such a small time is impossible. So, well, of course, fake news has always been there, as that liars have always been there. The difference is that now you share it. So the variable that changes is how and why you share it. And that's what we need to address. Of course, if you want to know why do people lie, why do people write fake news or misinformation? Well, you would have tons of research to trying to address that issue. But I don't think it would take us anywhere, because as I have said, people have always lied. And why do people believe in those lies? That's another issue. But the main issue is really, why do people share it? Of course, now that we have the social media, we can share all those lies. So I would like to address it from the point of view of science and not from the point of view of opinion. And so we need to study what is it in the message itself, what are the properties of the message that makes it shareable. So why do people share? And I would like to call your attention to a study that has been published very, very recently this year in Public Understanding of Science, which is a major scientific journal about issues of science communication. And in this study by Kirkpatrick, he made, using 380 participants. So he tried to see what variables impact on misinformation sharing. So what makes a misinformation message being shared? Okay, it's not about the people who share it. It's not about the people who write it. It's about the message itself. And there are several variables here, and to be quick, one of them is what they call a lexical concreteness. Okay, so the variable that they managed to understand that has the most effect on sharing is the level of concreteness of the message. And what is this variable? It has to do with how general you are when you speak, or how specific you are when you speak or when you write. If you say that there is that there will be a fire in say in Lisbon, it's too far away. But if you say to how many kilometers this fire is, so how specific you are is the main variable that makes it shareable, but not the only one, because then you have also the source credibility, and you have another thing which is called the psychological proximity, meaning if you have a message that is very concrete, and this message fosters this psychological proximity, it induces a feeling of threat, a perception of threat. And if there is a perception of threat, you share your message. You share your message because you feel that your friends are under threat. It might be a virus. It might be a physical experiment that will swallow the universe. It might be whatever. It might be a catastrophe. So you share it because you feel that your friends may be threatened by this. So you don't share misinformation because you are a bad person, because you are a mean person. If we try to understand it from that point of view, we get nowhere. People share it because they believe in it, but most of all because they feel that the ones that are close to them are under threat. And how does this concreteness of the message fosters this feeling of this psychological proximity? Psychological proximity is when you feel that someone is similar to you. Or also another dimension of this proximity is space and distance. Is this fire close to me, or is this fire very far away? So in this experiment, in this very interesting research that I think you should read it. I invite all our participants to read, because it's very important to use science to understand the threats to science and not just use opinion. And so just to conclude, what this research shows and demonstrates is that the major property of the message is the concreteness of the message, how specific the message is. Then moderated by the credibility of the source. And if it puts forward this feeling of proximity, psychological proximity, so it pushes the perception of threat. And then the perception of threat makes you share your post. And if we understand the properties of the message and how these properties contribute to this sharing, then we start to understand and we start to address it and maybe inhibit it. And that's what I would like to say.
Yeah, these are in fact very, very important issues.
Can I add something?
Yes, of course.
If I can, okay.
Yeah.
Is that it's extremely interesting what Carlos Catalan just said. You know, behind the theory, what we tried to do with Ciência em 3 Minutos was exactly the opposite, which was we are not going to release a video if we are not sure about the information we are going to share. And maybe this also plays against this real information or scientific information, because sometimes we are a little late for the topic. So when it comes to like some of the clinical trials, or when people were starting to talk a lot about the vaccines in the last year, I was like, whoa, take it easy. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're saying. This is not for sure. And people start sharing. And I think this is really interesting, the feel of a threat when you share an information. And it's very important in the future to know, so to use science in the right time with the right information, in this case to stop the threats, but to have still people interested enough to share it with their friends. So I find it really, really fascinating, and thanks for sharing.
Yes,
I think
yes,
the great problem, Carlos, is we need a new paradigm for the media and for the way to promote the knowledge about with the new media, new platforms, and the rules are not clear now. Are not it's not easy to promote the new rules for the media, because more freedom in information it's not more knowledge about the science and about the way to promote the knowledge and the science. And I think in Europe we have now a group of discussion about the new media, the new way to promote knowledge in schools. You know, we have during the pandemic time, we have the telescola in Portugal. It's an old thing to promote knowledge, an old way to get the interest of the young people. And I think the young people think the way to get the information and the knowledge, it's easy, but it's not a free way to get that knowledge. I think we need to, on the academic and on the media groups, we have to discuss to have a great discussion about the way to promote that new media for the future, for the young people with the knowledge more than the entertaining. I think the knowledge we can promote the knowledge with the entertaining programs, but it's not the easy way actually to get audience on the commercial television and commercial media.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Carlos Catalão, would you like to add some comments to what our guests addressed just before?
Yes. So we are addressing here the role of television in science communication, and of course, there are three ways in how people contact with science in their lives. They have a contact with science in schools. They have a contact with science in the media, and they have a contact with science in museums and science centers. So you have these three spaces in which this contact is done. As far as the media is concerned, of course, now television has a new competition. And that competition, of course, is the internet. And that competition grows even more if the public and the audience is young people.
Carlos, sorry, but the television is dead, actually. But we don't believe in that. For me, it's a problem because I work on television, but the television is dead, actually. The big countries like United States, and Anna knows that, it's a big country. Okay, television, it works well, but in small countries just like Portugal, it's a dead process.
Yeah.
But no one believes that on the media groups. they don't adapt.
Mari, I don't know if television is dead. I think the way you do television,
we work on yes, the way of the actual television is dead.
Because, for example, because in the US, so the only show that I watch on TV is in the morning. It's called the Today Show on NBC.
Today, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic, and in 10 minutes you have all the information you need. It's very fast. They use a lot of scientific people, and they use sketches of seconds. It's not like the news in Portugal when they open the news with every day with the same. People are tired and they don't use those 5 minutes of air to inform people with what they need to know. So I still think there's a way to give television some stage.
Anna, but that is another discussion, because in America, as you know, today it's a good example. It's a great program. But look, today's show, it's a huge team prepared the program, because the country is so big. They pay all that kind of productions. In small countries, just like Portugal, we copy that formulas, but in poor people. Another question, because as you know, in the news at night in America are 35 minutes maximum in the big channels, CBS, NBC, 35 minutes every night, 8 o'clock is the journal of the country. In Portugal, a small country just like us, we have 1 hour and a half news nights. It's crazy. It's not possible to attract new audience with that formula. But the problem is money. The problem is financial. I know, as you know, in America, the formula, it works well because it's a big country. In big countries, we have always audience to catch and to promote products and other things, because they have ideas, they have teams, they have to think every day to catch new audience. In Portugal, the television, look at this. Portugal, we are 10 millions of Portuguese. No, any other country in the world with similar population have 4 channels of news. It's incredible. It's crazy. We have 4 news channels in our small country. What is doing? Fragmentation of the investment and in the pub, all kind of problems, as we see with big hour programs about football with no showing to football, all kind of disinformation programs, because the interesting programs about science, about politics, about story, that are prepared and scheduled at midnight, 1 o'clock, and all as you know.
But for example, how can, and this is a question for you, I know we are going a little off rails, but I think this is also interesting to share. But so one thing that, how can we, as people that understand, for one side, the science, the journalism, and the television, how can we try to get better news to people? For example, small business closed all over the world, including in the United States. The way they approach the new here is, okay, small business is closed. There's going to have a big impact in the jobs and the money of people. What can we do? So there's always a problem, there's a solution, and they show a lot of interesting stories about donations, etc. If you go to Portugal, the same news is addressed by interviewing always the people from the restaurants that just complain about the measures. This is missing. You are missing the point to the population. So how can we, address that issue and make it better and reach more people with the right information?
Here we do the easy way to have not the easy way to we have to put some image on screen. Okay, don't care about, it's an image. Is the problem. We don't discuss now. We we don't think in group about the future of this problem. As so Carlos Catalão knows, every year it's a lot of young people goes to the universities to study communication science. The problem for that new generation of journalists and people from the communication media is they have no work to they have to reinvent the way to be on the media groups, because the media groups are need to reinvent the formula, and they expect from the big countries, okay, let me see if they invent a new formula and we repeat here. It's irreputable. It's not possible because we are a small country. We can do some lab about the new media, and of course RTP need to have that compromise with the public service, but it's another discussion.
I have to say that this panel, I think it is a fantastic example of open information and open discussion, because if you can see, the role of the moderator is very easy. I don't need to ask any question, because you are just talking amongst each other, which I think is the right way. The moderator is only needed if you don't talk. But since you are talking, I give you space for this. Nevertheless, I have here one question that I would like to address to everyone, because I think it is addressed to the three panelists, and I will read it right now. And thank you, Sergio Loureiro, for asking. The question is this: how do participants think that media can address the inherent complexity of scientific information? For instance, the fact that science is not exact science, but instead a process.
Science is evidence. Science is evidence.
Yeah, but Sergio puts it. Science is a process of constant evolution, which means that truth today will be not a truth tomorrow, or it will be only half a truth or so. How do you can we cope with this? Because I think it is a very interesting point. Science is not something that is static. It's really a process. How can we cope with this? In the media, can address this complexity of scientific information, because it is not a complexity in terms of contents, but also in terms of evolutionary process. Carlos Catalão, would you like to help us in thinking about this?
All right, thank you. I will try to be really quick about this issue also. So television may be dead, but the fact is we have never seen as many science communication on TV as we have seen in the last 1 year and a half. If for some few moments, it was even longer than football. So from March 20 to now, we had some moments, where finally on TV, you would have more people speaking about science, about statistics, about health, about vaccines, about lots of virology and lots of science than you had about football. Now again, it's like the transit. It's like 4 hours of football and science no more. So, and why did that happen? Of course, it happened because it mattered to people. And people would not go to the internet to know whether they would go to the restaurant or not, or if they would take their mask or not to this place or not. They were just like listening to the prime minister or to the authorities of health to know exactly how to behave. It's like it was beautiful to see all these signs, all this science communication on TV. Was it the best way of doing it? Well, I don't have the time now to discuss it. I think most of it was correct in the point of view of the strategy, and the proof is that the audience was there and was fixed to the screen to get that information, and it was complex information about means, about platooning, and so this curve is now platooning, and all these concepts of statistics. People learned about statistics a lot. So I do not have a solution, but the point is that when it matters to people's lives, it actually, people listen to it. It doesn't have to do with the complexity. If there was something that I would add to the way that science communication was conveyed on TV on the past months, was the way they listened to the experts. So I think that there should have been more debate. Each channel has opted by one or two experts on health who were interviewed individually on a single basis. We did not see much debate about it, and we did not see also how did the processes of science, how do we know what we know? So you would never see what's happening in the lab. You would never see what's happening in terms of the processes of research that makes us know what we know about the virus and about the disease. So I think that a focus could be on these processes, on the place where science is done, which is the lab, and how do we live in the lab, and how do you produce science in the lab and knowledge.
Thank you very much. Mario, considering this what Carlos said and the question, I have here a more directed question to you. It is this one. How do you choose people that you invite to speak about science, in particular about COVID at RTP? Does it depend only on the scientific curriculum, or also in their ability to communicate?
I think it's the mix. But first, I have to say one thing about the Carlos Catalão says about the new level of science on communication. It's true. It's a new level for communication and science, but it's just like we say on television, we discussed about sports, but normally it's only football. At the last 2 years, science is just not pandemic evolution or vaccines, but the problem when we have to choose someone to go to TV to explain something about science, I think first all the people needs to talk in public. Have to have they have to need some coach about communication. The formula of communication is essential to go to the audience, and we have to choose someone to who have more than a scientist, communication person with the straight way to promote the knowledge. And I think the secret is to promote more science on communication is to help the players in science to know about narratives of communication, because the problem normally the science community is a little bit close in the way to know the normal people, the normal audience, they don't know about science, just like specialists. And the mix of that kind of presenter about science is the way to go straight to the target, the audience and the people to know a little more about some themes, some knowledge in science.
Thank you. I have here one additional question, and I think that I would like to direct this question to Anna Cadet, because you are a scientist, and this question has to do with funding, science funding. The question is this, I will read it now. Despite the increase in science communication due to COVID, do you think this has impacted on science fundraising? I'm not so sure if the question was put by Joana Caldeira. Thank you, Joana. I'm not so sure if Joana is thinking about an increase in terms of fundraising or a decrease, but what is the impact, in your opinion, Hannah?
Okay, before I answer that question, let me just also address what we were discussing before, because I found it really interesting. And so from my perspective, what was missing in terms of science communication on television was it's kind of two things. One is like, you need to bring more scientists to television, and not always to be facing the cameras, but you need to have a multidisciplinary team of people, which some of them know a lot about the science, and the others can communicate those science. So I think we need to have a team of people to work on that communication. And then just on the other hand,
just like consultants?
I think so. I think you need to, because even for science communicators, RNA, it's very complex. It's you are not used to it. It's, for someone like me, that works in an area where RNA was developed, the company started 10, 13 years ago, and we know that the research has been done for the past 30 to 40 years. I know that, but the majority of people do not know. So we need multidisciplinary teams, people that know very, very well the science, and people that understand the science and then is able to communicate. I think we incredible failed on the Portuguese TV in the beginning, where you kept politicians talk about clinical trials. And that for me was an enormous, you just describalize science. And then it's true that after a few months you were able to find some scientists, but you usually bring the same people. It's the same scientists. And so what I found is like, it's lacking diversity. So if having the same person always talking in the news, you are able to target a specific population. Okay, you need, like the United States are really, really good in bringing diverse people. You bring LGBTQ people to talk about vaccines, you bring Black people to talk about vaccines, and the diversity is going to be able to target the ones that are unsure about this, although they represent a specific part of the population, but they are really acknowledged in the field. So this is kind of and just in talking about funding, so we know that we have the Plan de Resiliência, right, coming on, and I hope that the way I think about the plan is like, I don't think COVID damaged roads in Portugal. Okay, COVID did not damage bridge in Portugal, and so we should not be spending thousands or millions of dollars in building roads and bridges. This is not the goal. This is not what COVID broke. So we need to bring that money to science and to help companies and universities to be able to do better research, and in many different fields as well. So not only in the lab, but I think that is also important to have funding available for science communications, or to start building these multidisciplinary teams, which is something that they are in the backstage. You don't see them, but you need them. You need to pay them. So I don't have an answer for the funding because I don't know how they are going to allocate that. I have been reading a lot. I've been like kind of disappointed to see that not a lot of the money is going to be put in science. And if that's the case, I don't think we learn enough with the pandemic. So hopefully there's going to be more money for students and universities to do their research.
When you come to Portugal, I invite you to go to television to talk about that problematic.
Mario, sorry, you don't need that Anna comes to Portugal. You can interview her because with this digital media. Don't forget this by the evening in Telejournal today.
Good ideas, Anna. Good idea.
Yeah. Yes, Anna addressed, I would say, a crucial issue, which is we are not in science. It's not an expense; it's an investment. And if we build more roads, more bridges, more roundabouts, things like that, because we have it enough, we are creating more expense in the future. But we spend in science now, we are creating the conditions to have a more wealthy country in the future. And I think I would like to finish the session now because we are on time. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think I would like to leave this message. Science is not an expense. It is an investment. And I do agree with you that maybe we have not learned enough with this pandemic. I think that scientists are doing a good job, I'm sure. I think that media has to rethink its role and its way of approaching. I don't resist to put here one thing. When you were talking, Mario, about the TV was dead or was going to be dead. In marketing, we distinguish multi-channel approach with a omni-channel approach. If a company uses a multi-channel approach, this means that he is using different distribution channels. An omni-channel is an integrated way of seeing different channels. And what I think is that we cannot speak about TV or we cannot speak about radio or social media or so forth. We have to integrate everything in a single experience. But if you ask me, how do you do this? I don't know.
It's the secret. It's the secret for the future. When I say the television is dead, is the television as we know, as we do now. Because the multi-level of communication needs to open new doors, and we don't see people to think about that way to recreate, to reinvent communication. That's the problem, in my opinion, in Portugal.
That's it. Even the hardware is modifying. Now most people watch television in the computer, in the TV set.
A smartphone, probably.
Yeah, and the TV set is increasingly more a computer. Do you have a TV set? No, I have a big computer. Just that, and I use it for watching TV,
but
for watching.
Carlos, but I have one last question for Carlos Catalão, for Professor Carlos Catalão. What the new generation on the university, on the academy, think about that transformation? What are you feeling in the school?
It's very interesting. Well, we are talking about this masters in the university, or in Nova University in Lisbon, which is about science communication. And it has been expanding. We have it already. It has already 1 decade, but it's always expanding, and the number of students is growing, and they are increasingly younger students.
Yeah.
And what their interest is not, well, in relation to TV, in relation to the press, and in relation to schools. So they have this
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
expectations.
2 levels of
Level, and most of them they are interested in, increasingly in the press, in writing as
really
journalists
great.
in the press and on TV. There's not many interested on the internet, which is a bit odd, and there are a lot that are interested in working with kids and doing their work in schools, or having as target people at a school age. So that's more, if I can express the desires or expectations in science communication,
Yeah,
in that direction.
incredible.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Mario, for asking the last question.
Oh,
I
sorry.
have to put an end on this fantastic.
Sorry, Carlos.
No, you are doing your job. Thank you all for being with us.
But you know, the secret for the science, and also the secret for the communication, is the curiosity. Is the main secret for our job. Your job is our job too. And the curiosity moves the world, moves the change in the world.
Absolutely. For ages.
Mhm.
I would like to thank you, three of you, for being. Anna Cadet, thank you very much for joining us from Boston. Mario Augusto, are you in Lisbon or here in Porto?
No, Espinho.
Oh, Espinho. And Carlos Catalão is in Lisbon?
In Lisbon.
And I'm in Porto. Also, congratulations for the Catholic University for organizing this event, and a special thanks and congratulations to Hugo Chopina for carrying out this fantastic project.
Thank you.
So have a nice weekend, and we'll keep in touch.
Not we will have now. Just thank you, Professor Carlos and Mario, that I have the pleasure of knowing for quite some time now, Professor Catalão and also Anna. Thank you very much for being here. It was indeed a really great talk, as we planned. So you delivered as it we designed. So thank you all for your commitment. To the remaining participants, we will make now a 1 hour break for lunch. We will get back at 2 o'clock for the final panel on the role of open innovation in sustainable development. And afterwards, we'll have the final ceremony of the Amiris Innovation Big Impact Award. So you don't need to close the link. The link will be online until 2 o'clock. And we will be back in 1 hour. So have a nice lunch, and thank you all for being with us in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Anna, see you on TV.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Carlos, ciao. Bye.